Welcome to the Premie Pod, the podcast dedicated to sharing the powerful, inspiring, and often emotional stories of families and healthcare professionals navigating the world of premature birth.
Whether you're a parent, a healthcare worker, or just someone looking to understand the journey, we're here to offer support and insight, one episode at a time.
So tune in as we dive into real experiences and explore the strength of the neonatal community. We're your hosts, Kirsty, Dimity, and Meg.
This episode covers the sensitive and heartbreaking topic of infant loss. We understand that this subject can be deeply emotional and may bring up difficult feelings for some listeners. If you have experienced loss or find this topic challenging, we encourage you to listen with care or consider skipping this episode. Please take the necessary steps to prioritise your mental and emotional well-being before proceeding. Hello and welcome back to the Premie Pod. Today we're joined by an incredible guest, Tenille James, who together with her husband Mitch is proud parents of 3 beautiful children, Kenny, Andie and Harley. Andie and Harley were born at 35 weeks via caesarean section, and shortly after birth, Andie developed a life-threatening condition known as persistent pulmonary hypertension of the newborn, or PPHN. This serious condition meant Andie's circulation remained in its fetal state, preventing the critical transition needed for life outside the womb. It was a terrifying and uncertain time involving intensive care, life support, complex medications, and the constant attention of medical specialists. Against the odds, Andie fought through, a true testament to strength and resilience. But even after bringing the twins home, the journey was far from over. Tenille and her family would soon face challenges they never anticipated. Tenille, thank you so much for being here. We are so honoured to have you on the Premie Pod.
Thanks,
Welcome
ladies.
in.
Thank you for having me.
I've got goosebumps already.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. We can do it. We'll be right.
Yeah, we got this. So let's start at the beginning. Let's go from conception.
How did you find out you're pregnant?
It is a little bit of a funny story. Mitch and I got engaged in on Halloween, actually, in 2020, and the twins were conceived that night. We later found out, which was,
He's obviously had a good night.
yeah, really got down to business.
Why Halloween?
I think it just happened that way.
That's so cute. I
yeah,
love that.
It's very random.
Yeah.
It's very us. And then I found out I was pregnant super early because my period was so regular and my body is super consistent like that.
Yeah.
And Mitch and I were away in Brisbane for a weekend and my period was due the next day. And I said, Dal, I'm not getting my period, just a heads up. And we went and got a pregnancy test and did the test in the Carlisle in Brisbane. And yeah, it was literally, it was super, super positive.
Oh
yeah,
my-
which makes sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about, how did you find out you were having twins?
Did you have like an inkling that it was twins or anything like that?
Well, I did, which is the funny
Yeah.
thing, because the night before the first ultrasound, Mitch was actually away on a fishing trip. Don't know how that
Priority.
yeah, priority.
Typical guy.
Yeah, it's very typical. But I was like, oh, it's so fine, you know.
Yep.
I was very confident I was pregnant.
Mm.
And so I picked my mum up and I was like, oh, I had the weirdest dream last night. She's like, oh, really? What was that? I had a weird dream too. And I said, oh, I had a dream that I was having twins. And she's just went, oh, so did I.
What?
Oh my
And I was like,
God.
that's weird. Like, ha, 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 you know, funny.
That's
You
giving
guys
me
are so in
goosebumps.
sync.
Yeah, but it gets crazier because we drove to the ultrasound, went in, and I had this super serious ultrasound tech, and he turned the screen to himself, and it was all very private, and he was going side to side to side to side, back and up and side to side, and he just said nothing.
Oh no.
So I thought, oh my God, I'm not pregnant. Like
Yeah.
I've
Like
had a
you thought
miscarriage.
he was
Yeah.
trying to find it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, oh dear, like I was not prepared for this. And then, a couple of minutes later, he turned the screen and said, congratulations, there's 2.
Oh.
And Mum and I just burst into tears because we're like, how on earth did we know?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That is
It was
crazy.
crazy.
I love it.
It was really crazy.
Oh my God, dreams. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it just felt like the best surprise ever.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just felt
Yeah.
so lucky, you know,
Yeah.
like to have these babies sort of by accident and
Yeah.
then to have 2, I was just
Yeah.
thrilled.
And do any twins run in your family?
They sort of do, but not in like a good way, I suppose. My husband's dad was a twin, but he's the only surviving twin. His brother was a triplet and he was the only one that survived.
Wow.
And my little brother also had a twin in utero that my mum lost.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have no twins around us, but I suppose there is sort of twins
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Mm.
And
How?
so, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
you tell Mitch?
I just phoned him laughing my head off because I had told him about the dream that morning and he said, haha, like, don't joke about that. Like, Christ. So then when I phoned him to say it's twins, he's like, haha, no, seriously, how did it go? And I'm like, I am deadly serious.
That's too. Well, there you go. You're a psychic taking readings. Tenille's taking readings.
Bookings now. Just
It's like, hope you're having a good fishing trip though.
But I did not see what was to come for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. So then which type of care did you go under? Did you go under GP care, obstetric care, MGP? Like what did you choose?
I chose like private obstetric care.
Yep.
Which was all fine and the process was okay. My pregnancy was pretty straightforward.
Yep.
I was well. So sort of, I suppose the pregnancy start, I was okay, but we, drew the short straw with what was to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything was sort of okay until the last couple of weeks when I was really exhausted and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So talk about those last couple of weeks, like leading up to the birth.
So everything again was sort of okay. I was working and I had a really demanding job at that time. And I probably overdid it a little bit, to be honest, because I went into labour the morning after I finished work. I finished work on the Friday and Saturday morning I went into labour. So
you worked quite far into your pregnancy then, because what were you, 35?
35, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite long.
I work from home and work online, but it was demanding hours in another time zone. So it was sort of a bit on my body.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I sort of finished work, went into labour, and all that really happened in that last week, like there was no concerns for my pregnancy. Like my NIPT was normal, my ultrasounds were normal. Everything.
Because in private, you get ultrasounds like every appointment you go to, so you feel like really
confident.
I felt extremely confident, and maybe I was a little bit naive, not having any concerns. But I sort of felt like I was 35 weeks pregnant. I was sort of counting the days to get further and further and further, and I sort of thought I've hit 35 weeks. I'm sure everything will be all right. We're on the home stretch. So there was no red flags. There was nothing that was really identified before the birth that we were, concerned about.
And then tell us about, so you went into labour, you went into hospital, and so then how did that day look like for you?
That day was the craziest day ever. I woke up and my waters had broken and there was just little drips and I was like, geez, that's sus. And then I started having these funny pains and side note, my husband and I breed bucking bulls. It's another niche little hobby.
Yeah.
We had an auction that day. So I had all this last minute work to do. I was sitting at my computer and I'd be typing. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I was trying to get the auction done. So I went into labour at like 9 a.m. and then we rushed to the hospital, I don't know, after midday and then had the twins at 3 o'clock. So it was sort of, again, I was just super relaxed that morning. I was like, oh, I can do this. It'll be fine. And then, when the birth happened, it all just went from relaxed and we're having these babies to really crazy, really quick.
Were you planning to have a C-section? Was that in your birth plan?
It was. I just felt first time mum, 2 babies. I thought it was a big ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Timothyy's the same.
Yeah, elective section.
And maybe I would do things differently in hindsight. With the condition that Andie was born with, there is some evidence I've heard that going through the birth canal is beneficial for the baby rather than just, being pulled out in a cesarean. But again, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
There's no way we could have predicted what happened.
And also you don't know how vaginal birth's going to go either. Like there's a lot of unknowns, variables with twins, 100%. Like so much, can change.
Big ask. So I was comfortable with the Caesar at that time.
100%.
And so then tell us when they were born.
So Andie was firstborn. And she came out this beautiful, the babies were tiny. They were smaller than we thought they were. They were 2 kilos and 2.2 kilos when they were born. Andie came out and everything sort of appeared okay in that moment.
Did she cry?
She cried. Yeah, her APGARs were 9 or 10. Everything seemed okay in that moment. But obviously it was a twin birth as well.
Yes.
So it wasn't there was one baby and all the attention was on that baby immediately. There was another baby to be born. Harley was born, everything was okay. But then it was shortly after birth, Andie became critically unwell. I was in sort of recovery when it all started going down, so I didn't really see what went down immediately. But Andie was blue, she wasn't breathing, her body was not oxygenating, and things got really, really serious really quickly.
Wow.
And so you had the pediatric team there they were working on her, they were doing some stuff. Do you know exactly what they had to do for her?
In that moment, I think things were more serious maybe than they were thought to be at that
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
So she was receiving care. She was on oxygen support.
Yeah.
But I think it got really, really critical really quickly.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
They didn't
yeah,
realize
Yeah.
the extent of
Yeah.
it.
at
Yeah.
that
It was
time.
too quick. Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
it sort of looked okay
Yeah.
and then got
Yeah.
really bad really fast.
100%.
Yeah. And so then you had to be transferred, hey?
We did, yeah. So Andie was transferred that night in the hours after the birth, and my husband went with her.
Yep.
Harley and I stayed the night at the hospital we were at, and that's sort of when the roller coaster started.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was kept in the dark a little bit about what was going on. Mitch and Andie transported, and then I think when they got to the next hospital, shit hit the fan, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And everybody was working on Andie. I think Mitch didn't want to sort of alarm me,
Yeah. It will stress you out.
stress me
Yeah.
out, yeah. So he sort of didn't tell me how serious it was at that time. So I sort of stayed the night. I had Harley with me, started trying to feed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, so I sort of slept the night. Everything was okay at that time. In my, in my eyes, I
Yeah.
thought she
Yeah.
was getting some support, some oxygen,
Yeah.
all that stuff. But then the next morning, the nurses came in and said, hey, you're going to have to move today so you can go be with Andie and Mitch. And I said, awesome, that's great. And then about half an hour later, my husband called me and I could just tell by his voice that something was really seriously wrong.
Yeah.
And even in that sort of moment, he didn't want to, I suppose, alarm me with
Yeah.
how scary it had gotten overnight.
Yeah.
But essentially, she just made it to the other hospital.
Yeah.
She was crashing really, really badly.
Yeah.
She didn't look like she was going to survive the first night once they arrived.
Yeah.
We're really, really grateful that there was an amazing team there that night, and the best person probably north of Brisbane that could be there was there
Yeah.
and intervened and was able to get Andie intubated and put into an induced coma.
Yeah.
I remember the masses of people like outside her room that day. Like everyone was giving their all.
Yeah, which we're just so grateful for. And in a weird way, like I'm kind of glad I didn't see that. I know
Yeah,
Mitch is
100%.
really, really was really rattled by that,
Yeah.
of how
Yeah.
confronting it was.
Yeah.
And I think too, like being a male, you don't really understand like what's going on. Like you don't know if it's really serious or it's not really serious, or if this is just what we do. So he's probably like so confused, like what's happening,
Totally
and
out of
like he
his
probably
depth.
doesn't even know what to tell you because he doesn't even know himself.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
spot on. And we don't come from a medical background either. Like we had been really blessed that we'd been quite well
Yeah.
in our family.
Yeah.
So we'd never seen this. Like I had never seen a NICU. I'd never seen a sick baby before.
Yeah.
So it was super confronting.
Yeah.
But then the next morning, after the phone call with Mitch, the doctors came in and said, hey, you need to go now. We want you to get there before she dies. So you need to transfer now so you can go and say
Oh.
goodbye. So it
Wow.
went from your baby's getting some oxygen to you need to get there now in 12 hours. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. That's why, and that's how it was worded too, is that you need to get there before she
Now.
passes.
Yeah. And then we arrived at Harley and I hopped in an ambulance and went to the next hospital. And they wheeled me in, and my whole family was in the room around Andie, and she was just connected to a million machines. It was the scariest sight that I've ever seen. I didn't walk into the room, being
Yeah.
taken into that room. And our family, we just sat around her, and the doctor there said, she's going to go and we'll pass her to you when she goes.
Wow.
And we just sat there waiting. And she just didn't give up. Sort of hours passed and we were waiting. And then she just, it didn't happen.
She was a fighter, Tenille. Like she was a fighter.
She was
Yeah.
tough for a
She
tiny,
was.
tiny little baby.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I remember, like you were saying that, like seeing her go from just being on oxygen, and then I guess your expectation when you get there is that she's probably still just a bit on oxygen, maybe a little bit more, and then seeing her on that much stuff was just so
Ugh.
overwhelming.
It was the to this day, even after everything we've seen and been through, the scariest moment of my life. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and naively, I had this vision in my head. Like, I'd been planning what outfits I'd wear in the hospital. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I had planned this whole world with these two beautiful babies.
Yeah.
And going from everything was okay to this was scary
Yeah.
was just the most shocking thing to see.
Yeah.
There was just the noise,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
doctors, the specialists, all the machines. She was in an induced coma, so she was all sort of swollen and fluidy, and
Yeah.
she didn't look alive.
Yeah.
It was a really scary sight.
Yeah. And I guess because being in the induced coma, they're not moving. They're completely paralyzed.
No,
So like she's not blinking. She's not doing anything.
nothing at all.
Nothing.
And like there's all these sort of parts of the journey that was sort of not what you expect. And one is that because Andie was so unwell and in such a critical state, I didn't even get to hold her. Like I
Yeah.
didn't get to
Yeah.
hold her at the birth. I didn't hold her until she was 9 days old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was just a really, really, really hard time. Like what you have in mind for your birth and your baby, and then the reality of the NICU sometimes is really crazy.
Especially
Yeah.
like you said, you thought you were in the safe zone, 35 weeks. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
who thinks you're going to end up in a NICU at
Yeah.
35 weeks?
Yeah. And at worst, I'd been doing a lot of research.
Mm.
Like at worst, I thought I might have a week or two in special care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they
Just
might,
of feeding and growing and stuff like that. Yeah.
totally. But yeah, and not in my wildest dreams did I consider or prepare myself for that.
Yeah. No one does, I don't think.
Yeah. And because when they're in such a severe state of PPHN, the room has to be dark. Sounds, have to be to a minimum. Even touching her has to be to a minimum. Like, how hard was that for you and Mitch to not even really be able to touch her that much?
It was crazy. I suppose those first few days, the first night it was she's a goner.
Yeah.
Then the next day when she held on overnight, like my husband and his dad stayed in the room and didn't sleep and just sat there all night just saying, please hold on, please hold on, please hold on. And she did. And then day 2 again, it was like super serious still and there was no promises. We were taking it like hour by hour and just trying to get through if she could hold on. And it wasn't until like day 5 that the doctor sort of said that we might be able to be cautiously optimistic was the words that we used.
Wow.
Yeah.
Back in the beginning, like in the first few days, did they give you the option to like take away everything and just cuddle her, or did they always say we're
No.
going to do everything?
Yeah, that never was discussed, actually.
Yeah, right.
It was never suggested. And we felt like the team really was doing like everything
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
power, which was what we wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I was given the option at that time, I would have begged them to
Yeah.
keep trying.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was really grateful that wasn't suggested to us
Yeah.
Yeah.
because like the time that we got is better than nothing.
100%.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. That's 5 days of critical care, which is crazy.
Crazy.
But then you've got this other twin,
Yeah.
Harley, who's
Yeah. Poor
I
Harley.
remember he
Who's
was in the other room
from
across,
him.
like just being like, "Oh, what's happening over there?"
What was happening with Harley?
Well, I feel like I really clung to Harley.
Yeah.
And I think because I got so hurt after the delivery, I had this big open heart waiting for this beautiful baby. And then it was, your baby's going to die.
Yeah.
My body really shut down and I really disconnected from Andie, which is terrible. But I was sort of guarding my heart, I suppose, a little bit
Absolutely. Yeah.
in that situation. So I really clung to Harley and I spent
Yep.
like a lot of time with him. Like we just said, I couldn't hold her. I couldn't touch her. I couldn't
Yeah.
talk in the room,
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
really hard
Yeah.
to feel connected to her. So I really did put all my energy into Harley and he was
Yeah.
just like the most beautiful little baby.
He was so cute.
He was
Oh my God.
gorgeous, yeah.
I was obsessed with him. He was so
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah.
And we were sort of in the room across from Andie in the NICU. So
Yeah.
I could sort of sit and hold him and keep an eye on what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was just a crazy, crazy, crazy time.
I just remember it being such a stark difference because Harley's room had a window. It was so nice and
Yeah.
bright, and the energy in the room was so different, and you could see across the hall,
Yeah.
and you could see Andie's room, and it was so dark, and there was just so much, it was just such a stark difference.
Polarizing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Completely.
it's confusing and it's hard. And a lot of our journey has felt that way because even now that Harley's 4,
Yeah.
he will do something beautiful and he's just such a gorgeous little boy.
Mhm.
And that brings me so much joy. But at the same time, there's the hurt of there was supposed to be another one of you who's not
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So all the milestones
yeah.
through the NICU, through leaving hospital,
yeah.
through their first birthday, everything is sort of this bittersweet moment. And I feel like maybe that would just be our journey forever.
Yeah.
But it's how it is. And it did,
Yeah.
you're right, it started in that moment where there was this joy of a new baby in one room and there was
Yeah.
the fear of losing the twin in the other.
Yeah. Yeah. You could do so much for Harley. You were expressing, you were trying to breastfeed already over there, like I feel like you got a lot of joy out of those moments, even in such a really hard time having Andie across.
And particularly with you, we had,
Mm.
even in that first week, which was a terrible, terrible time, we did have a lot of fun across the room and we were trying to make the best of a bad situation. And
Yep.
it's like a bit of a full circle moment, having this
Yep.
chat with you today, because we
Yeah.
did spend a lot of time together
Mm.
A lot.
in that room in that first week.
Yeah. Making schedules.
I hated that schedule.
We might post a photo of that. That was so funny. I remember because I was saying, okay, well, this is when his cares are. This is when his feeds are. This is when you should pump. And there was like 2 hours for you to sleep.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was so easy.
But I also think, how you're feeling bad for like giving him all that time. It sort of gave her the time to rest and recover. And
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never thought of that before.
yeah,
That's
You were
really
giving
nice.
her
Yeah.
Yeah.
the best chance because with PPHN, like Kirsty said, the best thing for them is just quiet,
Rest.
peace,
Yeah.
and rest.
Yeah.
So you gave her the best chance.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really nice actually. And
Mm.
that's comforting because you carry a lot of guilt,
100%.
Yeah.
because you do the best you can in that situation.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
it's a hard place to be.
Yeah.
Of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so then tell us about your first cuddle with Andie.
It was scary because it wasn't like holding a normal baby.
Yeah.
She was on, I think, high flow oxygen still at that time.
Mm-hmm.
She still had all lines in her. But it was like a really beautiful, special moment. And it was something, I'd sort of been dreaming of since the birth.
Yeah.
It was really special. I held Harley and Andie together and it was just like
Yeah.
how it was supposed to be,
Yeah. You've got a really beautiful photo, I think, of when Harley's like wrapping his arm around Andie and they're on your chest.
Mm.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Really sweet.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you find that like when they were together, that Andie like
Settled?
got better, settled?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you guys sort of thought that too, because as soon as she was sort of stable, we had them together, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was really beautiful too. Like having them reunited after
Yes.
everything sort of got just ripped apart.
There is like a lot of evidence of like having twins together helps, you know, if there is a sicker twin, helps them get better and settle and feel peace,
And it makes sense, I suppose, because they only knew life together.
Exactly.
Like from the start.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure they felt that too.
Yeah. They probably missed each other as well. Like they knew that there wasn't,
They weren't together anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that. We believed that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even at home, Harley used to terrorize Andie, but she just adored him. Like,
She was happy for
Yeah.
it. I
yeah,
love
she
that.
loved it. Like he'd be coming for her, and she loved it. She'd just smile, like yeah.
Like, oh,
they
Harley's here.
they had a real massive twin to twin connection.
Oh,
100%.
I love that.
Yeah. And then tell us how long you sort of stayed in the NICU for and then in the special care for.
NICU, I think it was maybe a week and a half, and then another month in special care. So it was about 5.5 weeks in total that we were there.
Yeah.
The sort of added difficulty for me was I had 2 babies, not one, and Harley was not sick. Harley was fine. So as soon as he was feeding well, he went home, which was about a fortnight, I think.
Yeah.
But then I had the added challenge of 1 baby at home and 1 baby in the hospital.
And you can't drive. You can't like get yourself around. So that's even harder.
No, and I didn't want my baby that was well because he was still preterm and a twin and
Yes.
small. I didn't want him in a hospital every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you're in a hospital if you're sick. You don't go there for fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So my mum moved in and cared for Harley all day for me while I would go to the hospital and look after Andie.
She's
Be with
amazing.
Andie.
Hey, your mum.
But again, it was a hard situation because I'm sitting up with a very unwell baby in hospital and my baby that's well is at home. So when I'm wanting to be somewhere to be there with Andie, I was also missing Harley. So it's just the whole way along, it was really difficult to adjust and make the right decision and need to be two places, you know.
And you feel like you're missing out on all those moments with Harley,
I
you know,
was.
like all of his, you know, like all of his, you know, looking around and all their noises that they make and that newborn sort of
bubble. We never had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we were just so lucky to have my mum.
Yeah.
And lucky that she was able to drop everything and come and help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have her.
I love that she was there from like the very start, from the first scan, and then she's looking
Yeah.
after him at home. Like that's so sweet.
Yeah, and Jude's just like called for it. You know, she's best mum in the world, and she was built for the job.
Yeah.
And so I remember Andie had to go home on oxygen. Hey. Yeah. So she had a lot of
to the list.
Yeah, like she had a lot of scar tissue in her lungs, and like she needed a lot of support even after she came off everything.
Yeah, so even when she was discharged and she was doing well, because she was little, she'd been through a lot. Her body was weak, I suppose. She wasn't weak, like you said, Meg. She was like a crazy strong baby. She was a fighter. She did not give up, but she had been through a lot. So she came home on home oxygen, which then was just like another level of complexity because I had one baby at home attached to a tank and another baby, and they would go off at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was, it was just a crazy, crazy period. She ended up being on oxygen for 6 months.
Wow.
But over that time, she like made really big improvements, and she was getting stronger, and she was well and starting to develop, and things were sort of all going in the right direction.
Yeah. And then even like I guess, you know, you felt like she was ready to go home from special care. Like you felt like she was ready. And so you even like advocated for yourself, I think, a bit and getting
I remember
all of
that
organised.
You were like, all right, let's get this going on. Want to go home now. I remember.
Do you remember Oxygen Gate?
Yes. We're on the phone to the oxygen people and you're like, I remember that day when you're on the phone to them.
Oh my God. She was well.
But
it had
she
been
was.
a long
She was
time.
ready to go.
All that was holding it up
Was the
getting-
oxygen.
So I got the oxygen. We were going.
I was like, this girl, she knows how to get things done.
in an hour, Tenille's like, sorted it. I'm going home.
I don't know how well that was received, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You did it. You got it done, and you got to take your baby home, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, and that's what was my priority was. I wanted
Exactly.
out of there. I loved you guys.
Yeah.
But I had had enough.
But you also hated us.
I was ready to go. Yeah.
And like you said, you had another baby at home. You wanted them reunited together.
Yeah, I wanted us all to be together.
Exactly.
It was like I wanted what I signed up for, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was nearly 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to be at home with my babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, back together how we were supposed to be.
What was that day like when you took her home? Did you bring Andie in and took them together, or did you?
No, I left Harley with mum again.
Yeah.
Again, I was like, it's in hindsight, it's okay, but I was just grossly underprepared. Like taking a baby home on oxygen was scary.
Yeah.
Like I had to learn so much, like how to change the little pads on her face and monitoring it and monitoring her oxygen levels and stuff. Like there was just nothing was straightforward.
Yeah.
So I was nervous. I had this big pram and this big oxygen tank and this tube and it's, oh God, it just felt like out of my depths.
Yeah. And so was Mitch there with you? Did you take her home together?
Yeah, we did. And I just remember he was driving. I was like, drive slow, drive steady, brake. Like our precious cargo is in the car.
And he like speed bump. You're like, slow.
But yeah, I suppose that's just like a bit of a trauma thing too. Like we're so hyper vigilant and still a little bit to this day.
Yeah.
But I would just hear the wind blow the wrong way in the house and I'd be checking on Andie.
Yeah.
I was just so nervous for so long.
So what was it like having the twins at home? What was your schedule like? What was life like?
You didn't have the 2 hours spare, did you?
Yeah.
I had 0 hours.
I had nothing to spare. I did not have an ounce of energy left. It was beautiful. Like we just felt so lucky and so grateful that Andie was there.
Yeah.
Because we had prepared ourselves to not have her there. So it was like this, again, beautiful, beautiful time. But Andie was a sick baby.
Yeah.
And she, obviously her body was healing from so much. I have never heard a baby cry like that baby cried. And every day she just cried for hours on end and there was nothing I could do to settle her.
Yeah.
We did everything we could do, of course.
Yeah.
But she was a really, really, really difficult baby.
Yeah.
And on the other side, her brother was the easiest baby on earth, thank God. And he just chilled while Andie screamed. And we got through it, but it was crazy. It was
Yeah.
tough.
I think it's
And
even
then-
harder too because you have him. That's so easy. And you're like, why? Like, what's happening? What am I doing wrong? Like, what am I?
Totally.
So hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did, like, I was going to the pediatrician and has she got colic and has she got this and has she
Yeah.
I took her to a chiropractor. Is her back out because she was in the induced coma and she was being manipulated.
Yeah.
I was doing everything I could to try and figure out what was wrong with this baby.
Yeah.
But I think it was just she's a baby. She'd been through a lot too, and like we sort of think it's a baby, but I'm sure they do have some
Yeah.
like emotional, capacity,
Absolutely.
and maybe
100%.
she was as hurt as I was, and she was letting it
Yeah.
out.
And then, because I remember you had to go on this crazy diet for her as well. Like, I remember, like, for her to be able to have your breast milk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Andie sort of then wasn't gaining weight like she should, and there was obviously a lot of factors: the oxygen, the prematurity, all of that.
Yeah.
But I suspected that she had allergies. I had her allergy tested, and she did have allergies.
Wow.
So I was on like a exclusion diet: no dairy, no soy, no eggs, to breastfeed her. And I was sort of, again, trying everything I could at that time. I went and saw my naturopath and discussed that she'd been deprived of oxygen and the possibility of brain damage and bits and pieces that we didn't know at that time. And I went on some really strong herbs, and I went on this like silly dose of fish oil and all these vitamins that would help her.
Yep.
And that's why I persisted with the breastfeeding, so I could try and get like as much through to her. Obviously, you can't give much to a baby, but I was taking everything I could to sort of supplement her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did so amazing. Like, months you were doing that for. Like,
Yeah, we stuck with it as best we could.
yeah. It was so impressive. I remember going over one time and your mum's making us like these pancakes that have no dairy, no eggs.
No, nothing.
And you're promising me like, no, they're really good. And I'm like, okay.
Mum again. She
Side
was
note,
just
they were
there.
really good.
Yeah, no, she's a freak. She's good at everything, that woman. But yeah, but again, it was just like no part of this journey was simple, even
Yeah.
that. Like, the diet even, but we were happy to do it. We were grateful to have our baby. So I was like, I will do whatever it takes to, make her happy and healthy.
Yeah. And then tell us about the follow-up that she needed. Well, potentially they both needed, but what did Andie specifically need?
Andie, she sort of, was not thriving, failure to thrive, I think they sort of call it. Again, that was to be expected with what happened. But I applied for NDIS for her, which we were granted, and I started doing speech, OT and physio with her every week. Just because they said that like early intervention and giving her that like extra input was really beneficial while she was tiny.
Yes.
So we were doing that. But again, it was tough because I had two babies. I was breastfeeding both.
Yes.
And then we were,
You're amazing. Honestly.
Yeah,
we
superwoman.
had therapists there, all the time, just trying to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what kind of things were they focusing on for her? Was it her core strength? Was it her general movements like overall or like what were they focusing on?
Yeah, it was sort of all of that. I think just because she didn't have like a normal start, she didn't have, a lot of like the skin to skin contact and a lot of the input early.
Yeah.
We were just sort of playing catch up.
Yep.
So a lot of the speech was to help with her hearing, which was another spanner in the works. Stimulating her.
Yeah.
The OT was sort of teaching me how to handle her in a way that would benefit her the most. And the physio was, working with her core strength and her development because it was significantly behind where Harley was.
Yeah. So tell us about her hearing. I think we might have skipped over that a little bit because you had a hearing test before you went home from hospital, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And we were cheering because Oxygen Gate, we were leaving. We had the baby and we were running out of that hospital. And they're like, oh, we'll do a quick hearing test before you go. We failed.
Oh, no.
Both ears.
Were you there that day?
I think so. Yeah.
Did I hit the ground?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both ears failed?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it must be like a faulty machine. Let's do it again. And she failed. And we sort of don't know what the cause of that was, if it was from being intubated or the oxygen or the drugs. One of the drugs she was on, nitric oxide, apparently, is super dangerous.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the end of the world with what we'd been through. I thought, geez, like I can learn sign, that's fine.
Yeah.
But she wasn't deaf. It was just mild hearing loss, it turned out. So we were comfy with that.
Because you guys would have went for like an audiology follow-up, hey, afterwards. So
We
the
did.
hearing test only like is just like a guideline, and then you go for a proper follow-up afterwards.
Totally. And the
Yep.
follow-up, thankfully, wasn't terrible news.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
okay.
So did she need hearing aids or anything?
I got them. Yeah, just
Good.
again, because
Good.
they said the best thing for her is to get the
her
maximum
development.
amount of input.
Yeah.
So yeah, the poor little
Yep.
thing, we strapped them to her,
Yeah,
and
didn't she used to wear like a
Yeah.
little hat or something?
a little
Oh,
bonnet.
So cute.
It was really cute. Yeah,
Did you find a difference, like when she had them in? Like,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, the day we put them on for the first time, we were
Yep.
in the room with this audiologist, and she did like her eyes just sort of widened.
Oh.
A bit more.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, you can hear me. And like I knew she could hear us already,
Yeah.
but I was holding her and we put them in and she sort of went, whoa, like,
Oh, that's
hi.
so cute.
Yeah.
It's just the
Aw.
volume got turned up on life a little bit, probably.
yeah. It was
That's
like Meg was talking.
amazing.
to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say
She's
that.
like, whoa, wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. That's so good. Hey.
Yeah. There was little moments like that were cool along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you said that she had allergies as well. Hey. So tell us a little bit about that journey for her too.
I suppose I suspected she had allergies because first she broke out in eczema, and she was unsettled. She had mucousy poos. There was sort of like all the red flags of allergies.
Mm.
And I did take her to have a skin prick test, which is, I suppose, a little bit unorthodox in a baby that was that little. But because, again, of her journey, it was really important that we got to the bottom of it. So it was something I was comfortable with doing to
Yeah.
find out what are we dealing with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we did that through an allergist and got the answers that we needed.
And what did it come back as?
Anaphylactic for egg.
Oh, wow.
And she had like a slight dairy intolerance too. And yeah, that was just a whole nother roller coaster. Andie didn't eat. She wasn't big on food. We suspected that she had a bit of like an oral aversion because of how much she was like interfered with as a
Yes.
baby.
And did she have a tube in her mouth or in her nose? Do you remember where it was? Both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That can lead to things
totally
like that.
understand that. So she wasn't really eating. She'd play with food a little bit. But it was actually a couple of days after we found out about the egg allergy. We were at home and I was eating this little avocado dip thing with some crackers, and I was holding Andie. And she was sort of leaning in wanting some. And I was like, my God, this baby wants to eat. It's a miracle. So I let her have a little bit of my cracker. And luckily I had my two best friends were dropping over to see us that morning. I was home alone with the babies. And a couple of minutes later, I sort of walked upstairs carrying her and she vomited and her face started swelling. And I went, what's going on? And I was sort of shocked and I ran in and put her in the bath. I don't know why that was my instinct, but I was just like, oh, something's going on. I need to settle her.
Yeah.
And then her lips swelled and she swelled and she was vomiting really, really violently.
No.
And I went, oh my God. But I was sort of in shock. I didn't realize what was going on. And my best friends arrived and they walked in and said, call 000. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
this is getting bad quick. And then the ambulance came and I sent them down to look at the avocado dip, and the bloody dip had egg in it.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
no.
No.
Like, on what universe is there egg whites in
Yeah,
avocado dip?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just a total oversight by
Yeah.
me. But again, I had never dealt with somebody with an allergy
No.
before.
No.
Of course, in hindsight, I should have checked, but this baby that didn't eat wanted to
Yeah.
eat. And I was just like, oh my God,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
And
Like,
you're just thinking it's avocado. Like,
Yeah.
of course.
Exactly.
Anyone would.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mistake. But 000, the ambulance came and gave her adrenaline and everything was okay. But it just showed us how fragile our situation was and how careful I had to be. And it was just a mistake. Obviously, I didn't make again, but
Yeah.
big learning curve.
And did she have to go to hospital as well?
She was okay, but they took her just given
Yeah.
her history, given everything. She was a tiny baby.
Yep.
Yeah, just a bit better to be safe than sorry. I think we actually stayed the night even that night because they wanted to monitor her, which I appreciated.
So was that just in the ED or did you get admitted to peds?
I think we were on peds that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like being back in hospital?
It was okay because she was okay. I
Yep.
knew she was okay. My like intuition was really strong and I could see she was all right.
Yep.
But I mean, it wasn't fun. I don't love the hospital. But suck it up. You know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So another scary moment with Andie.
they just kept coming.
Yeah.
Bestie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's really scary. I don't think many people have had their baby
No.
go into anaphylaxis, you know, like that's really scary.
Yeah. And it, to be honest, it felt like a blip in
Mm.
our scope of what we had seen. But I suppose, in hindsight, it was crazy.
And imagine if you didn't get that prick test done, you would have had no idea at that
What
point.
was
Like
going
you were
on.
probably thinking maybe like go look at the dip, and then you knew how to treat her straight away. So
Yeah.
thank God,
Yeah.
like you got the allergy testing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
thank God for your
Mm.
friends too,
Yeah.
like being like, no, call the
Triple O.
ambulance. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure I would have.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
felt dramatic. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
like, what have I done now?
And that's
Like,
part of being a mum, you know. You like second guess yourself with things like everything, you know.
Totally.
Am I being over dramatic because this is my baby and I love them, you know?
Yeah.
And because of what we'd been through,
That's what I
I
was gonna
felt
say.
like I was just so hyper vigilant, like I
Yes.
said.
Yeah.
You know, I was constantly scared of something happening to her. So
Yeah.
I'd sort of be like, Tenille, is this serious or is
Yeah.
this a you thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many months old was she at that point?
It wasn't long before she passed away. She was probably 8 months old.
8 months.
Yeah, at that time.
And so then tell us about the day that she passed.
So it was the 2nd of April 2022 and it was like a Saturday morning. It's just like a totally normal day. Andie had actually slept through the night. She'd had a good night. Harley had had a bad night. He was in with me in the bed early in the morning just to settle him down. And I went to check on Andie. She had had a nappy change. She'd done a little bit of an odd cry, which was unusual. It was slightly different to how she normally cried, but I wasn't overly concerned. And then a little while later, I roused her. And again, like she was quite an unsettled baby. And if you touched Andie, she would jolt, you know. She wasn't a super relaxed, calm baby.
Yeah.
And I roused her and she didn't move. And I roused her a bit more and she didn't move. And I picked her up and she just fell back into my arms and she was just completely floppy. And I just screamed for Mitch to come and help me, put her on the couch and started CPR, called Triple O. And yes, she had just stopped breathing, completely stopped breathing, just like that. Nothing happened. No cry, no scream, no vomit, no nothing. It's just, just all stopped.
And you'd only sort of checked on her like, 10 minutes beforehand?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. And that moment was like the getting to the NICU, when she was born was scary and shocking, but seeing your baby just lifeless 10 minutes after you saw her alive was just like my world just went into a tailspin.
Yeah.
I put our other children in our bedroom and shut the door and told my daughter to stay in the room and please not come out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like the craziest time. 7 ambulances arrived to our house. Paramedics came running in and it was just crazy. It was like a roller coaster, but of the worst kind.
Yeah. So what were you doing when the ambulance got there?
I was doing CPR. My mum and Mitch were there, my husband, and they were just in total shock.
Yeah.
We were all in total shock. But I went into this weird sort of like I'm the mum, I'm in charge here mode. And so I was doing CPR on her, which again is just a crazy thing to be doing to your baby. But I was so panicked that I couldn't count my compressions. So I was counting out loud and the lady on the other end of the Triple O call was counting for me and telling me breaths every 30 compressions. So that was just the craziest time. And then the paramedics came in. It was about 8 minutes after I called, they got there, which was crazy. But I could feel in that moment that we weren't getting anywhere. And my intuition told me in that moment that this was really, really serious. Obviously it is.
Yeah.
But when I was working on her, I could feel that it wasn't good.
Yeah. And so then what did the ambulance, like the paramedics do when they came in?
They rushed in and just tried to do anything they could to help her. I don't really know a lot about that process, to be completely honest. I was in a massive state of shock. They were trying some medications, I believe. They couldn't get a vein. They ended up having to gain access through her skull. It was just horrendous. It was so scary, so confronting. There was a lot of sort of medical jargon. They were talking about what was going on with her. Our understanding at that time was that she still had electrical activity in her heart, but her pulse, it wasn't beating enough to create a pulse. So the blood wasn't traveling, but she wasn't gone at that moment.
Yeah. So then how long did they work on her before taking her to hospital?
It was quite a while.
Yeah.
It was probably 15 minutes or so at home that they were trying. But then they needed to get to the hospital.
Yep.
And again, like we were talking about in the NICU, you sort of make decisions in that moment. And it's like a situation you don't picture you would ever be in.
Yeah.
I sent her with the paramedics in the ambulance and they started to go to the hospital. Mitch and I were preparing to go with her. I stayed and waited with my mum and the children because I didn't want the baby, Harley was 9 months old, and my daughter, with my mum in the state that we were in a lot of shock, a lot of panic, a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
I was phoning my dad to come and be at the house with my mum before Mitch and I left. So we were sort of waiting there until somebody arrived to be with the rest of the family because there was nothing I could do in that moment for Andie anyway. Yeah. But I was like in massive like preservation mode. I was like, we need to get through this. Yeah. And one of the like scariest and saddest moments, even now thinking back on, was my dad was driving to our house on his way doing, like 100 through the city. And he was saying to me, what's going on, Dal? And I said, Dad, look, it's bad. It's real bad, but I need you to be strong. Yeah. Come and be with the rest of the family. We will get through it. And as he was driving, the ambulance that had Andie passed him. So through the phone, I could hear the sirens. And he just broke into tears and said, is that her? And I said, yeah, it is, Dad. And it was just shocking, really. It was really terrible. And I just said, I need you to keep it together. I'm going to keep it together. Go be with Mum and I'll go to the hospital. And then as soon as his car pulled up, I got him the critical care car and we just took off after her.
So did the like a little ambulance car like wait for you to take you there?
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, they were really, really kind. And some of the team went with her. Sort of one of the head guys stayed with us. And like we were just treated with like the utmost respect. Like outside of the NICU and Red Nose, like the Queensland Ambulance Service, I'm just like world's biggest fan, biggest advocate. Like how they treated us in that moment was beyond like what you can ask for. And even when we were driving up to the hospital, there was a lot of comms going on from the ambulance to the hospital about her state and preparing for her arrival. And the paramedic who was with me was like kind enough to explain what was going on.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, and keep us in the loop. But he also turned his radio right down so that we weren't overwhelmed by like the chatter.
Yeah.
But it's just like that moment driving. Sorry.
It's okay, babe. You take your time.
Driving to the hospital, hearing over the radio them trying to save your baby's life and hearing it not going real well was just like the hardest trip ever. And we pulled up at the hospital and were like ushered into a room with a social worker. And they just kept working on her for sort of as long as they could.
So did they like get her back at some stage or were they just trying?
No, yeah. And I think they really did more probably than what you even can do.
Yeah.
By the time it was called, it had probably been an hour, like it was well and truly over. But it was just crazy. Mitch and I were in this room with the social worker and some doctors. And again, they were sort of trying to brief us on what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I could just hear, the flurry of activity and she was in resus and they were doing all they could, but I just knew in my heart it was over.
Then what was it like going into that room and seeing her after they had called it?
It was really, before that, it was really spooky. We were in the room and it had been like a long time, we could sort of feel that like there was no news coming. There was no positive news anyway. And I was asking the doctor that was there, I said, look, we've been through this before when she lost oxygen and it was a long journey. Like if it's been an hour, guys, and you're still working on her, she's a baby. Like just withdraw care, stop. And as that moment, as the words left my mouth, a doctor walked in and said, I'm sorry, it's over. So it's like Andie and I were sort of in sync, even right down to that moment. Yeah. Because like when my heart felt like it's time to let go was the exact moment that she obviously also just gave up.
Yeah.
And going in and seeing her, afterwards?
It was very confronting. You know, like I had seen her unwell in the NICU, but there's a whole added element when there's a death of a baby
Yeah.
that it's like a bit of a criminal thing too.
Yeah.
And they have to obviously investigate that we didn't play a part in her
Oh
death.
my gosh.
So she was like intubated or had some pipes and stuff in her mouth, and she had an access point in the top of her head. And they had wrapped her up to pass her to me. But like that, it doesn't feel like your baby in that moment, because she, again, was like, when she was sick in the NICU, she was lifeless and she'd lost all colour, and she had these medical interventions on her. And it was just, to be honest, like the most yucky thing. And we just sort of tried to do the right thing in that moment. And I was holding her, but my husband was just in the corner of the room, just vomiting in the bin. Like, it was so shocking and so scary to see.
Yeah.
And then we sort of stayed like as long as we could. But I started panicking, worrying about Harley, just in that really like protective mother sort of way. So after her death, we weren't there that long. I just started panicking and said, I need to get home to my baby. Like, I was just really fearful of something happening, you know?
Yeah. And so then where did she go after that? Did she go down to their morgue, or did they go straight to the funeral home? Like, how did that all work for you guys?
Well, there was like a little bit of a delay, I suppose, because that day after Mitch and I went home, some detectives came to the house pretty quickly that morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What were the hospitals saying happened? Like, what were they saying to you? Anything?
Nothing really, just that her heart stopped,
Mhm.
essentially. Like, there was no, like, I sort of saw it happen. Nothing happened.
Yeah, that's right, because you were there not long before.
Yeah.
So you're like,
yeah. And like, I was there, I was sort of just outside the room, like nothing happened, you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah.
it was really confusing. It was reassuring though, I suppose, that nothing happened. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like we missed anything, or we
Yeah.
didn't see it, or
Yeah.
we didn't hear it. Like, it just
Yeah.
happened.
yeah.
She sort of just slipped away.
She was
went to
peaceful
sleep.
and she wasn't hurt or anything. So that's
Yeah. But the detectives came and they sort of,
That's so confronting.
it was a lot.
That's heartbreaking, to be honest, because you've just gone through
You've
the
literally
worst thing
just-
that anybody could ever go through, and then there's two police pretty much turning up at your house. Like,
Yeah, it was a lot. Again, though, we were treated with a lot of respect. They were good people. They were doing their job, and I
Yeah.
get that. But it was really like hard to accept in the moment. They took photos of her room, took photos of her bed, asked me what she was wearing. And again, just like there's all these little parts of the journey that were just so scarring. Like when we got back from the hospital, upstairs were her little clothes that they had cut off her in the moment. And it's just, the whole thing was just so, it was a lot. The detectives were really kind, but they interviewed myself, my husband and my mum, all individually. So yeah, it was just like the day that just went from bad to worse, to be honest. But we got through it, and then there was sort of a bit of a delay because they did an autopsy on her, again, as a part of just confirming that there was no foul play, which we consented to.
yeah.
So there sort of was a wait for that to happen, and then, yeah, we had her cremated.
Did you, I guess the autopsy is twofold, because obviously they probably need it for their investigation, but I think you wanted answers too about what actually happened.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't keen on the thought of it,
Yeah.
but when she passed away and we were in the room at the hospital, I really did feel like she was not in her body anymore.
Yeah.
And that maybe sounds a little bit woo-woo,
No.
but that's why I was comfortable to leave, because I was like,
Yeah.
my baby's not here
You're not
anyway.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
Like her soul had left.
she was long
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just like a vessel then.
No.
So we sort of just made peace with the fact that it's a terrible thought of somebody doing that to your baby.
Yeah.
But I think I'm someone who wants to know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did want to know what
Yeah.
happened. What did they find?
Yeah.
And like, what if the answers helped, like,
Totally.
you, not only you, but like Harley as well? Like, what if it was something that
We needed to
nobody
know.
picked up, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a really good thing.
Yeah, it was just an uncomfy thought,
Of
obviously.
course.
But the whole thing was uncomfy, so you just have to sit with that.
Mm.
And did you get answers?
We did. The official sort of cause of death was prematurity related lung disease, which was sort of a blanket term, I suppose, for the damage that the PPHN caused to her body.
Yeah.
And SIDS.
Yeah.
It was just, a death that couldn't have been prevented or predicted. It was just what happened, sadly, which is really, really hard to accept. But it's the cards we were dealt.
Yeah. And so what did those days and weeks look like afterwards for you and your family?
It was just crazy. I think I felt a lot of pressure to keep it together because I had a baby. So I couldn't just like lay in my bed and cry for a month and sort of work through my grief. I had to be a mum still. And we had a 5-year-old daughter. So I really felt that I wanted to be like a good role model to them.
Yeah.
And I took it really seriously. Like we as a family sort of made a pact that this is a really, really big thing and we really love each other and we have to do whatever we're going to do to stick together.
Yeah.
Because another thing about infant death is like the divorce rates are really, really high because people blame and don't cope. So we made like a pact as a family to get through it. And we took it really seriously, like with nutrition and getting out of the house and sort of like doing everything we could to like look after ourselves.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was terrible. It was really, really hard. And for about a year after Andie's death, I'd sort of hold it together all day for everyone else. And then as soon as like my husband would close his eyes beside me, I'd just cry for about 3 hours every night. And like the physical toll that took on me was really crazy. I in the first 18 months after her death, I kept going to the doctor and getting blood tests because I was like, there's something wrong with me. Like I'm not well. Like my body just, I had all this pain and inflammation and all these weird symptoms. I had really, really severe back pain and all this funny stuff was going on. And it was sort of only after about the third set of blood tests that the doctor said to me, I think you just have so much grief that your body just can't cope. Yeah. And then we just had to work through that, you know?
Yeah. And so you went and saw psychologists and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing the psych was actually really helpful for me because I had this really bad back for a really, really, really long time. And it wasn't until I started talking with her that she pointed out to me that because I was hunched over when I was doing CPR on Andie, it's like the trauma of that incident was stored in my back. Was her explanation, and apparently that's a thing, which I didn't know. So then I sort of, once I accepted that it wasn't actually like a physical, like I was going to the chiropractor, I was stretching, I was doing this, like it wasn't, it was an emotional thing. I sort of worked really hard to work through my emotions and my grief, and by doing the fundraising and trying to sort of do some positive things, talking about Andie, talking about what we've been through and processing it, because just like hiding it and pretending you're okay doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And how was Mitch throughout all this?
Mitch is great. Like he's just a really headstrong man, and he coped probably a little bit too well. He maybe hasn't processed as much as he should, but like he did a really great job of just like supporting our family and looking after me and giving me like whatever space I needed.
Yeah.
I stopped working at that time, which I was really like grateful I had his support in just becoming a full-time mum. That's what I wanted to do, you know, with what we'd been through. And so, yeah, he's been like an enormous support for me.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's so lovely that you have got that, especially with your mum and your dad too. Like, you've just got such a huge support system around you.
Yeah, we're lucky. We've got like a super tight-knit family.
Yeah.
And we just really stuck together. But there was just so many emotions, like I suppose even a lot of guilt from me, like seeing how much pain my parents were in.
Yeah.
Because like grandparents cry twice, you know. They're sad for me, but they're also sad for their grandchild. Yeah. So I feel like the pain, like for my parents and for Mitch's parents, was sort of like as bad as our pain, you know.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of guilt for bringing like so much sadness onto everybody around us, which was really hard, but you know, it's just something you have to learn to accept, I suppose.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. And the thing is they were sad because they love you and they love Andie. Like,
yeah.
And that's, you know, the sadness is because of love, you know.
Totally. Yeah. And you just sort of got to learn to cope with it. And like in our family, it's kind of crazy, but we have sort of like before Andie and post Andie, you know, it sort of changed all of us in a really, really massive way.
Yeah.
And like I'm a completely different person to what I was before. And as much like sort of pain that we've been through, I think like the positive of it is that like I appreciate everything so much more now.
Yep.
Like before Andie, you know, you get a few red lights or something doesn't go your way, you get the shits.
Yeah.
Now, like you cannot like rock us.
Yeah.
Just because when something so big has happened, it
Yeah.
really changes your like perspective and your bearings.
Yeah. What's hard before isn't hard anymore.
Nah, nothing's hard compared
Yeah.
to that, you know?
Yeah.
So like, but it also brings like immense joy in small things too. So like
Yeah.
Harley and I, we walk in the park together and it's a nice day and there's a cool breeze and I will just think, God, how lucky are we?
Mm.
Because it's sort of reshaped us to have so much like empathy and so much
Yeah.
more gratitude.
Yeah.
And joy in the little things.
Totally. Yeah. So we have that in our family, which we maybe didn't appreciate as much before.
Yeah.
With can I ask, like with Andie, you guys get signs and things like that from her?
We get so many. She's around like so many. There's been heaps, but one really special one was the day of Andie's funeral, which was a really, really, really hard day, and it was just a really sad day because it was felt like the natural order of things was confused. Like my grandfather, who was almost 90, was at the funeral crying over the 9-month-old baby. So, you know, it was like a really confronting day in that way. We were at home after the funeral and I was sitting out on the deck with like my husband, my mom, a couple of friends, and we released butterflies at the funeral. And I was sitting there and, you know, it had been like a real moment. I was sort of like really upset and it was just a big moment of decompression. And this butterfly flew in and flew over and flitted around me and then just flitted off. And I just burst
Oh.
into tears. I was like, if that's not her, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that has happened many times over the last few years.
What was it like planning her funeral?
It was, I suppose, like just something we had to get through. It was sick and it was like choosing songs and choosing a poem and all this. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't speak at the funeral. I wasn't up to it. We just had like a closed funeral with just our family because it was just too much at that time to deal with. But it was just something we had to sort of grit and bear and do, and we just did the best we could.
I really appreciate that you guys had such a small funeral because I feel like I think so many people would have wanted to come. Like you would have had hundreds there. And I think that's just way too much for you and your family, you know, like.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
And I would have done it, but my husband Mitch didn't want to. He said,
Yeah.
absolutely not. It's not even on the
Good.
cards. And
Good.
I just respected his decision at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a difficult thing to go through, let alone
was.
with so many other people there.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I tell you what I love, how like all of this, you still like let like him be the freest little boy. Like he's got geckos, he's got like, I don't know what he's frogs. Like he's such a like free little spirit. And
Harley's
I love
living for
Yeah.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% he is.
He
Yeah.
really is. And like, we're just so blessed. He's the best little
Yeah.
boy. Like he just brings so much like joy to our life. And I definitely was super cautious and super scarred and scared. But yeah, Harley just lives for two 100%. He is living life to the fullest and he's
He
always
is.
thinking of Andie. He brings her
Yeah.
up a lot.
Mm.
He asks me to call her when he was smaller.
Oh my God,
Bef-
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh.
before he understood really. He'd say, Mummy, can you call her? And I was like,
Aw.
oh, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're so lucky to have him, you know?
Yeah. How do you involve Andie in everyday life? Like what do you do to keep her memory alive?
In the early days, we had like a shrine at home, just because that's what made me feel comfortable. In
Yeah.
our home still, we have like her urn and a photo of her and our other children. But she's sort of relevant to our daily life. Like we speak about her and what she would have been like, and especially birthdays and anniversaries of stuff. Like the anniversary of her death, we always do something to celebrate her. But birthdays, we've got like some funny little traditions.
Yeah,
Like
tell us about them.
yeah, at Harley's birthday, we always sing twice. So
Yeah.
we sing first for Harley and then the next time for Andie.
Love that.
Yeah, and that's sort of special, and it's sort of maybe it makes people a little bit uncomfortable, but I think for our children it's really important that we teach them to be open and talk about it, and it's not like some little thing we keep locked in the closet, you know, like, and I think that's why we've got through it how we have. Yeah,
It's important to talk about it.
totally.
Your daughter, who was 5 at the time, Kenny, she was there that day when it all happened.
Yeah.
How has she been afterwards as well?
It obviously has had like a huge emotional impact on everybody in the family,
Yeah.
but kids are like scarily resilient.
Yeah.
And Kenny probably coped, you know, one of the best in the family.
Yeah.
She's a very, very smart kid. She's very intuitive. She's, she understood. And obviously there's like a lot of pain and there's been with, you know, sought counselling for her as well. But yeah, the children coped really well, to be honest. But again, I think that's being surrounded by love and support and a good family environment. Like grief and love can exist together.
Yes,
they
So
can.
we've sort of like taught them that your life can still be a great life even though we've been through something really hard. Like this doesn't mean your whole life is ruined.
Absolutely.
Yes, we went through something really terrible, but we can get through it.
Yep. I love that. I think that's really special.
And it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good way to look at things.
Yeah.
And I think like the way that you guys incorporate Andie, the way that, you know, she sends you guys signs, like all of those things, like that, what you're saying, like they are all those little things
Do you
that
hold
just
on to?
hold on to and
Yeah.
keep your love alive, you know?
Yeah.
Totally. And I think like it's easier to, and it's a bit woo woo, but I feel like she is with us.
Mm.
So it's easier to accept that like she's not really gone. She's not physically here, but even doing stuff like this is really nice because her memory will never
Yes.
die, you know, like she's not here with us, but like we sort of say like it's better to have loved and lost than to not have loved at all.
Yeah.
You know, that quote,
Yes.
that sort of
Yeah.
applies to us. And I'd prefer to be grateful for 9 months with her than sort of waste forever being scorned that she's not here anymore.
Yeah. And I love that you speak about her like 24/7. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably a bit much and,
No.
you know,
No,
people
it's
around
not.
me, again, you
No.
feel guilt because it's like I'm bringing it up again.
No.
But it's relevant to our everyday life.
It is. She is still a part of your family and she is still here.
Yeah.
Even though you can't see her, she is always around.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that.
And then I do want to talk about all of your fundraising efforts and everything you've done in honor of Andie as well. But I do want to just jump back to Harley because he was also Prem.
Yeah.
And so what's kind of been his challenges, or has he had anything that's, you know, that he's had to like work through as well?
We're like particularly lucky. Harley's been really, really well. He does have reactive airways. So in the early days especially, if he got any like hint of a virus, his airways would go and he'd get like really severe croup-like symptoms. So there was some pretty scary times in the sort of first 18 months of his life where his breathing would go in the middle of the night and we'd be up at ED. I probably did 6 or 7 ED trips with Harley in the first 2 years. But thankfully that seems to be improving as he grows.
Growing out of it.
Yeah, and we haven't had an incident for probably 12 months. So yeah, he's just like the most gorgeous little boy ever. He's really well. He's really smart. He's
he's
super
so
athletic.
smart.
He
Yeah.
runs and jumps and climbs and
He's a wildlife warrior.
he is Team Robert Owen. Yeah. He's doing all the things.
Yeah.
And it's just like he's just so sweet and he's such a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful kid.
Yeah.
We feel like he kind of knows, you know,
Yeah.
that he kept our family together. Like having Harley is why I sort of didn't crash and burn.
Yeah.
And I know like everyone in our family feels like that. Like we have a shared album with all the family members where I upload
love
videos of what he does.
Oh,
And
I
he's
love
just
that.
like, just brings like so much happiness to everybody in the family. So
Even just to
He-
us
yeah,
watching your stories,
I
I'm
legit
like,
watch
I
your
hope
stories
my
and I'm
kid
like,
is like
I
this.
love that.
it's the best, hey.
He's
Yeah.
just walking around. He's got a lizard on his head.
He was.
So much.
Yeah, but we truly do feel like he's just got such a special spirit. And it's like, you know, is he carrying a bit of Andie? I don't know.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He would be.
Yeah.
Makes you think, hey.
But you're building such a beautiful life for him. You know, you've got the farm down at Airlie. He's living his best life down there with all like your cows and your bulls and, you know, like he's just
Yeah.
living the best life. I love that.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like I was saying, I think that's sort of due to the
Yeah.
to Andie.
Yeah.
Like we are, like you take nothing for granted. Like tomorrow's not promised, you know. We don't wait for the holidays to do things. Like we are,
Yeah.
He's a part
we're
of it.
living life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a part of her in his heart. He's living for two.
He is.
He is brighter than life.
And
He
he's
is.
doing her proud, I reckon.
I 100%
She'll be
reckon.
loving it.
She'll be loving
Yeah.
watching him.
Yeah.
Yep.
We agree.
And then tell us about all the fundraising that you've done in honour of Andie. So you've done Red Nose, is it 2 or 3 years in a row now?
Yeah,
Yep.
we have. She's raised like over $100,000.
Wow.
Andie,
She's incredible.
she's a legend.
Yeah.
She's like famous with Red Nose. She
Yeah.
she does a lot of media. She does, yeah. We're not letting it go. And we're back now doing podcast.
Explain what Red Nose is and things like that for the listeners.
Like it's an organisation that does firstly like research into SIDS and what causes it and trying to, you know, get to the bottom of what's going on because it's not very well understood. But they also do really like important advocacy and support for families. So like in our situation, obviously we had a, you know, big supportive family, but there's women and families that go through it that don't have that.
Yeah.
And they supply like 24-hour counselling. You can call them anytime and talk to somebody. So obviously that costs a lot of money to run. And we feel like that's a really worthwhile cause and something that we like totally get behind.
Yep. No, I love that. I think that's great. And so what kind of fundraising efforts like have you done? So like you've done a few different things.
Yeah.
Yep.
The first we just did like a call out to
Yep.
our friends and family, and we were the second highest fundraisers that year because everyone obviously has been
Crazy.
super moved by what
Yeah.
happened. The following year we did a raffle. So I got prizes donated from businesses and then we sold tickets.
Yep.
And we did like over $50,000 for that, which was crazy.
Wild.
Wow.
And then the following year, my gym were kind enough, First Base Fitness were
Yep.
kind enough to do a fundraising day where everyone did a massive workout and came together in honour of Red Nose.
I love that.
And now you guys are legends and are carrying the, you know, the Olympic flame for this year.
And what's going
Andie's
to happen
flame.
next year? No, I love that. I think that's so special. I think keeping her memory alive, keeping her face everywhere, I think is so important.
And it does, like, it takes a bit of a toll, you know. It's
Yeah.
even the, like, you know, I love you guys. And the thought of coming today is scary. I think just because it's like the hardest thing we've ever been through and you feel very
Yeah.
vulnerable sharing it.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, we're the people for the job.
Yes.
And I'm like,
It's bittersweet. Like you're speaking about her and stuff, but you're also like reopening
hurts.
those wounds.
Yeah.
totally. But like we survived it, you know,
Yeah.
and I want to turn it into something positive. And I think
Yeah.
like the more fundraising and like awareness that it raises, it's worth it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can sit in the discomfort for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
But-
incredible.
Yeah,
Really
honestly, you
incredible,
are.
Tenille.
So are you guys.
We
Thank you
really
for her, you
appreciate
know.
you coming on. Hey.
Yeah.
Remembering her and speaking of her and everything you're doing, you know, to advocate for Red Nose too. It's
Yeah.
really important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we really appreciate you coming on. I think this is really special and powerful. And I think a lot of mums and families are going to get a lot out of this episode. And even mums who, you know, haven't gone through something like this, I think will relate and feel a lot of your pain. And I think, you know, they'll reach out and
I
also.
don't want to scare them though, you
No.
know, like I
Yeah.
almost feel bad talking about it because it's a hard story.
Yeah.
But like we've got through it, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
at least it's turning into something positive.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
it,
sort of what
and
we
it
can
raises
do.
awareness, you know, like people will hear this story and understand that this is something that can happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah.
3,000 babies a year in Australia, which
Yeah.
is crazy and
That is
scary.
crazy numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we need the work
The
of Red
research.
Nose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tenille. Thanks for coming on. We
Thank
really
you, ladies.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you.